If you've ever thought I'm too busy to connect with my kids, then this is for you. I used to think the same thing until one small moment made me realize it's not about having more time. It's about how we use the time we do have. I'm a mom of 2, and between work, snacks, meltdowns, and "Mom, look at this" every 5 minutes, I get the chaos. But I found a way to create real connection in just minutes a day without any crafts, guilt, or clearing my schedule. Stick around because I'm sharing 3 mindset shifts that shape how I connect with my kids. And one shift I almost missed that turned out to be the most powerful. Let me show you what I mean. So I'm standing in my kitchen, my chai is getting cold, I'm scrolling through work emails, and my daughter's pulling on my leg going, "Mama, mama, mama." I'm doing that thing we all do, the yeah, that's nice, sweetie, without actually listening to what she's saying at all. She's trying to show me a card she's drawn, something she does every day, by the way. Each color means something, but I'm nodding along while reading about a meeting that's not even happening till next week. Eventually, she just walks away. After the initial relief, I feel this punch in my stomach. She gave up on me. Later that evening, she was quieter than usual during dinner. No chatter about her drawings, no excited stories. And I thought, how many moments like this am I missing? How often am I right next to them but completely absent? That moment with my daughter was a wake-up call for how I was showing up, but also for how I wasn't. That's when I started asking, is too busy really about time? Or is it about something deeper? Here's what I used to tell myself. I'm just too busy to connect with the kids today, especially when I didn't have a 30-minute block clear in my schedule. But here's what I've started noticing. I actually do have the time. Those 3 minutes waiting for the kettle to boil, that's connection time. The 5-minute traffic jam during school pickup, connection time. Even the 30 seconds I spend waiting for the elevator, that could be connection time too. The problem isn't time. It's the voice in my head saying, if you can't do it perfectly, just don't bother. That voice convinces us that if we're not planning some elaborate craft activity or some Pinterest-worthy family game night, then we're not being a good enough mom. The voice that makes us feel guilty for not having hours of uninterrupted connection time. I used to think connection meant sitting down for deep hour-long conversations or planning special outings. But that pressure to make every interaction meaningful was preventing me from connecting at all. I dismissed those little moments when, like, walking to the car or the few minutes before bedtime or the time we were getting ready together as not enough. But what if those moments are actually the most important? Research shows that kids who feel truly heard by their parents have fewer behavioral problems and stronger self-worth. And here's the best part. You don't need hours of connection. It's about consistent, intentional moments where they feel seen and valued, quality over quantity. I started paying attention to how often I was physically present but mentally somewhere else completely. Getting ready in the morning while thinking about work, sitting with my kids doing homework while scrolling on my phone, being in the room but not actually being there. Those tiny pockets of time, they were right there. But I kept dismissing them because I thought, if I can't do it perfectly, then don't bother. So what does this actually look like in real life? Because I'm all about the practical stuff, not just the theory. I'm going to share 3 of my favorite micro moments from this past week. None of them took more than 5 minutes, but each one left me feeling more connected than I had in days. First, the 3-minute tea moment. Yesterday morning, I was waiting for my second cup of tea to steep. Instead of grabbing my phone to check Instagram again, I asked my son, "What's one thing you're excited about today?" And here's the key. I actually stopped. I put my phone away and I listened. Not the kind of listening where I'm mentally planning work emails. He told me about the new intelligent octopi project he's working on for his school exhibition, where he's using Canva and AI-generated images to create a comic book about sea creatures. Incredible, right? That conversation took maybe 3 minutes, but when he hugged my leg before grabbing his backpack and said, "I love you, Mama," I felt how deeply those 3 minutes mattered. 3 minutes, that's it. But he felt heard and I felt connected. Then there was the 30-second drawing conversation. One morning I'm rushing to grab my bag and get out the door and I see my daughter drawing a girl and her outfit. My first instinct was to shout, "That looks really good," while rushing past her. But I stopped myself. I dropped to her eye level. I looked her in the eye and I said, "Wow, tell me about this drawing." She explained how she was using blue color for the skirt, pink for the top, and it had white and yellow sunflowers on it. And then she went on to say how she was going to add sunglasses and pink lace-up trainers to complete the outfit. 30 seconds of my full attention and she was absolutely beaming. And finally, a split-second choice before a Zoom call that made me rethink how I actually listen. Last week I was getting ready for a Zoom call and my son comes home looking frustrated. Instead of saying what's wrong while continuing to prep for my call, I sat down on the edge of the bed, turned my body towards him and said, "You look upset. Tell me what's wrong." He explained that his friends had been blaming him for leaving them out of a group when it wasn't even his idea. I wanted to jump in with, "Let me email your teacher to find out what really happened. Or you can play with some of the other kids in class." But instead, I just listened. And I said, "That sounds so frustrating that they're blaming you when it wasn't even your idea." And you know what? He leaned into me, he softened, took a breath, and he said, "Yeah, but I think they'll forget about it by tomorrow." The magic wasn't in my advice. It was in him feeling heard. That's the shift. Instead of thinking I need an hour to connect, I started thinking, how can I make this moment count? There's one thing that I had been doing with my kids for years, but I hadn't fully understood how powerful it really was until this moment. That's when I found myself coming back to this thing that I've been doing with my kids for years: special time. It started when my son was little, right after my daughter was born, when suddenly he was no longer the center of attention. It really helped us to stay connected back then, but somewhere along the way, with life getting busier, I'd started treating it like this extra thing I could fit in if I had the time. And then I realized, wait, this isn't a bonus. This is the whole point. For years, I thought connection had to mean elaborate activities, but I've come to realize that just 2 to 5 minutes of following their lead with no agenda, no multitasking, no screens can create real connection. And the moment that brought me back to this was a random Tuesday afternoon. My son asked if I could play building blocks with him. He was already quietly building a tower in the living room, but for special time he wanted me to help, but on his terms. So I sat beside him and I followed his instructions. Hand me the blue one. This green one goes there. No, Mama, the green is for the second floor. As he built, he narrated everything. The first floor is blue, the second floor is green, the third floor is yellow, and the fourth floor is red. Then he went on to say that he wanted him and his sister to live on the first floor, his dad and I to live on the second floor. I didn't have to do or suggest anything. I just followed his lead. And in that moment, I wasn't thinking about work or any upcoming appointments. When he finished, he looked at me and said, "Mama, you really like my tower, don't you?" And I realized I had sent him 3 powerful messages in under 5 minutes. You matter, I'm here, and your ideas are important to me. Last week, my daughter chose painting for her special time. She wanted to use acrylics, not watercolors or crayons, the real ones, she calls it. So I helped her to set up and she told me where to sit. She picked one page in her sketchbook and I painted on the one next to hers. She chose all the colors. She decided we'd sit on the floor, not on the table. She told me, "Mama, paint whatever you like, just don't copy mine." So I followed her rules. We painted side by side, no instructions, no corrections, just painting together. She looked over at me halfway through and said, "I really like that we're painting together like this." That was it. It wasn't about what we made, it was just that I showed up for her on her terms. And special time doesn't even always have to happen at home. One afternoon we were really tight on time, so I offered special time in the car. My son chose to play Would You Rather. He grinned and asked, "Would you rather be eaten by a lion or squashed by a cobra?" From there we ended up having an entire conversation about crushed bones and chewed up bodies. That conversation took a turn for the gruesome. But that 5-minute chat turned a routine car drive into something memorable. And it reminded me that even car rides can be connection time when they get to choose what we do. What I've learned is that kids don't need grand gestures. They need consistency. Small moments that say, "Your world matters to me." And those moments refill my cup too. When I stop for them, I feel less frantic and more grounded and more present. So how do you actually stay present when your brain is running at 1,000,000 miles an hour and you've still got 5 things to get done before dinner? I totally get it. My brain used to be running through mental checklists while my kids were trying to talk to me. But here's a super simple 3-step formula that works even in the chaos. And it takes less than a minute. Step 1 is to pause. This is literally setting down whatever you're holding. Phone, car keys, work bag, cup of coffee, whatever. Make eye contact for 2 seconds. That's it. I know it sounds almost too simple, but here's why it works. That physical act of putting something down signals to both you and your child that they have your full attention. It's like a reset button for your brain. Step 2 is reflect. Here's my magic phrase. It sounds like you felt or you seem. A few months ago, my son was upset about not being invited to a friend's birthday party when a few of his close friends had been invited and they had been talking about it in class. My first instinct was to jump in and say, let me message the parent, or did you ask him why he didn't invite you? But instead I said, it sounds like you felt left out when your friend didn't invite you to his birthday party. I took 2 seconds to say that, but it completely changed his response. Instead of getting upset or shutting down, he said, but yeah, I have another birthday party that weekend and it's going to be too hectic for me anyway. See what happened there? By reflecting back what I heard, I validated his feelings first, and then he felt safe to share more. Step 3 is be quiet. This is honestly the hardest part for me. After you reflect, stay silent for 5 to 10 seconds. Don't jump in to fix, solve, or give advice. Just listen. In that silence, something magical happens. Kids often start to share more. They work through their own feelings. They feel truly heard. Going back to my son's friend's birthday story. After I stayed quiet, he continued, I remembered what you said about not forcing someone to be your friend, so I will just go to the other friend's birthday party and that will be enough. If I had jumped in right away, I would have missed that. He had actually figured it out himself, and he had remembered something that I had said to him before. He just needed someone to listen first. That's under a minute total. Pause, reflect, be quiet. And it completely changes how heard they feel. But more than that, it changes how connected you feel too. So how do we make these moments part of a full, hectic, busy day? Let me share with you 2 rituals that have transformed our mornings and our evenings, which are generally the hardest times. These aren't extra things on my to-do list. They're just replacements for mindless habits that weren't serving anyone anyway. The daily affirmations and breathwork ritual. On our way to school, instead of scrolling through my messages for the 100th time, I take a deep breath, turn to look at the kids, and I say, let's do our affirmations together. We each say a series of about 12 affirmations together, and then we take a few deep breaths, breathing in through our nose, out through our mouth, while slowly counting to 3. It only takes 2 minutes, but it dissolves any stress from the morning and sets us up for a positive day ahead. Yesterday, my daughter said, I'm brave, and as she said it, I could feel her chest lift. And then she took a deep breath in, breathed in calm, and as she breathed out, she let go of the fears and the jitters she had about finding out who her new classmates were going to be next year. In 30 seconds, we all felt more grounded and more ready for what the day was going to bring. I have a free download with the exact script that I use with my kids every morning in the car. Just click the link in the description below to get your 5-minute morning reset. Affirmations for moms and kids on the go. It's not about perfect mornings, it's about finding calm, even in the chaos. The bedtime ritual. Instead of rushing past their bedrooms to run to check my emails again, I pause by each bedroom for 30 seconds and I ask my kids 3 questions. First, what did you work on today that you're proud of? Second, what did you struggle with today? And third, what is something you want me to know? One night, my son told me about how he'd worked really hard to complete his AI-generated comics on Canva in time for his school exhibition the next day. He explained to me how he gave the AI prompts and it would generate the exact images that he needed for his comic. Then when I asked him what he struggled with, he said that it was sometimes tricky to find the right words to prompt AI in order to get the exact image that he needed. And then when I said, what do you want me to know? He grinned and he said he really enjoyed making the comics on Canva, and his friends liked it so much that they asked him to teach them how to do it so they could make their own comics. That 30 seconds didn't just end our day, it opened a window into his world, instead of me just shouting good night from the hallway. The beautiful thing about these micro rituals is that they don't require any kind of planning or special material. They're just intentional moments woven into what we're already doing. And here's what's amazing. After doing this consistently, I've noticed that they're more willing to share with me throughout the day because they know I'll actually listen. And look, this isn't just some feel-good parenting advice. Research shows that kids who feel truly heard by their parents have 30% less behavioral problems and stronger self-esteem by the age of 16. When children feel genuinely seen, they misbehave less, they stay calm through the tough moments, and they even enjoy school more. Every time I give my son or daughter those few moments of my undivided attention, I'm helping them build emotional resilience. I might be running on a tight schedule, but these small moments are starting to pay off in ways that I'm just beginning to see. But even if you forget everything else from this video, there is one thing you can do that will completely shift the way your child feels around you. So here's what I want you to try this week, and I'm going to make it super doable because I know you're already juggling a million things. Pick just one moment where you'd normally grab your phone, waiting for the coffee to brew, walking to the car, or that weird 5-minute gap before bedtime, and instead, give your kids 30 seconds of your undivided attention. Ask them one question and really listen to the answer. Don't try to fix, teach, or improve anything. Just be truly curious about their world. Maybe it's, what's the most interesting thing you built today? Or tell me something that made you laugh. Just anything that feels natural to you. But here's the important part. Commit to doing this every day for one entire week. Same time, same approach. I promise you'll start to see a shift, not just in your child, but in yourself. You might be surprised by what happens. Maybe they'll share something they've never told you before. Maybe you'll notice something about them that you hadn't seen. Maybe you'll just feel more connected at the end of the day instead of just wondering where all that time went. Connection doesn't come from finding more time. It comes from making the time you already have count, even if it's just 30 seconds in the middle of a messy day. If this hits home for you, take a moment in the comments and share your favorite micro ritual. I'd love to hear how you're building connection even in the chaos. And if you're craving more parenting content that's real but not perfect, you're in the right place. I've got plenty more coming your way. Science-backed strategies, honest stories, and simple mindset shifts that actually work, even when your brain's fried and your kids are yelling. So hit subscribe and I'll teach you how to build real, meaningful connection with your kids without needing more time, crafts, or even meditation. Because this stuff is not about adding more to your plate. It's about seeing what's already there. Thank you for hanging out with me today. Remember, you're not too busy for connection. You just need to know where to look for it.